Hey everyone, LSX Buddy coming at you from a relatively cool garage today. We're going to try and fit one of these 10.5-inch wheels onto my front suspension. We're going to see how that works with a couple of different upper control arms, high clearance upper control arms that I bought for your viewing pleasure. Now I've got upper control arms from SpeedTech Engineering as well as from SPC. We're going to see if either of those are going to fit without further modification with this wheel. Let's check it out. Now I've already jacked up the car and taken off the front wheel. So we're just looking at upper control arms today. So we just have to remove this guy right here. In order to do that, first step is going to be take this castle nut off. Now in order to take this castle nut off, we're going to have to pull this cotter pin. I'll go ahead and do that now. Now the nut is 3/4 of an inch and it's probably about 50 foot-pounds at least. Now when you get it loose, don't take it all the way off. I'll show you why here in a little bit. Now once you've gotten that, you'll want to address the cross shaft. There are a couple of nuts you'll want to loosen. You see I've got bolts, but these came from the factory with studs. They're pretty easy to knock out. I replaced mine due to header clearance with those big headers that I've got. Make sure that you note and bag the front and rear shims so you can reinstall them for a baseline once you've loosened everything up. All right, I got both the cross shaft bolts loose. Thankfully I don't have inner fenders, otherwise this would be a much bigger pain. I went ahead and bagged the shims. You can see there. Got those in bags. Now, it's kind of hard to see, but I've already popped the ball joint. A really easy way to do this is you see that the castle nut's still on there. Back that castle nut almost all the way off and then take any sort of weight off of the lower control arm that you can. What that's going to do is you're going to basically be using your springs to push down on that ball joint. Then I take a big friggin' hammer. Mine's not even that big. It's like 3 pounds or something like that. And you're just gonna whack the shit out of it. That's pretty simple. See, mine's already popped off. You don't damage the boot that way or anything. And the nut itself actually keeps the assembly together. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna jack this back up, put some weight on the lower control arm, and then I'm gonna take the castle nut off and also, well, the upper control arm. All right, so here are my 3 arms. You see my stock replacement there on the lower right. That's a Global West knockoff that I bought back in 2010. Upper right here, this is SpeedTech. This is their HighClearance arm. They claim that this will fit up to, I think, a 10-inch wheel, 9.5-inch wheel, something like that, with 7 inches of back spacing. Now, when I ordered this from Jegs, the photo was something a little bit different, and a buddy of mine has a 72 Nova with their high clearance arms that he's been running for a while. He's got 275s on his, and they were different. So they had a little bit of a kink inward before kicking back out on that forward shaft, or forward arm rather. So when I got these, I wasn't terribly happy. I talked to SpeedTech. Chadwick over there said that these will indeed work, same fit, form, and function as the other ones. Now, these are supposed to work with tall spindles. I've got stock spindles. I'm gonna see how it goes. Again, my buddy with the 72, he's running his with stock spindles and he hasn't had any issues. So I'm hoping I don't either. Now, top left here, this is the SPC muscle car arms. Now, I know that they make some other ones that are kind of look like these, but with the turnbuckles, sort of like these ones have, for adjustment. But these claim that these have the highest clearance of any arm on the market. These also have 1/2-inch taller ball joints than what the stockers had. And I think I replaced mine with 1/2-inch taller ball joints as well. And that helps with the camber curve, especially on these older cars. All right, so I went ahead and got the SPC arm on. Now, a couple things about that. You see that nut right there at the end? There's one on the other side as well. Those things take forever to torque down. So we're gonna take a look and see if this is gonna fit. Now, first off, I didn't bolt down the ball joint, so it is sticking up a little bit, but you're gonna see I don't think that would matter much. I'm actually appalled at how bad the fitment is on this. Hopefully you can see this okay. There we go. So I can barely move this in. I mean, it's practically hitting as it is. This is straight up and down. On the back side there, if I rotate that, the back wants to hit as well. It's actually contacting. Again, this might, if I suck this down the like 3/4 of an inch, that might work better. But all in all, these SPC arms are actually, I would argue, worse than my arms were. That's kind of weird, especially considering they say that they're, you know, high clearance. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this back out and ship this back. I'm gonna think about the SpeedTech arms. I don't know. I'm probably gonna end up having to buy tall spindles if I go with the SpeedTech arms. So that's something I really have to think of. Now, before I get started, I want to show you the difference between the SpeedTech HighClearance arm and the Stalker. Now, I've got the driver's side arm so that I could mirror them, so I put that downward. This one's going to face up. I'm going to do my best with the camera in my hand to kind of show you what the difference is between these two, and I apologize if I fuck this all up, but that's kind of what happens. Okay, so this is essentially the setup right That's essentially the setup right there. Kind of hard to see. So the SpeedTech arm kicks out further on the front or towards the cross shaft, but then it's kind of hard to see here, but this part of the arm is actually further in on the SpeedTech than this. I can't get a good idea how much, neither can you. There you go, you can kind of see it right there. But it's a solid probably 1/2 inch. And if you remember, I was hitting right about here. So this is the part that's the most critical. Now, is this going to alleviate all my problems? I don't know. We're going to find out. So quick note before I get started. This stop right here, I knew that I was going to have to take this off just because it looked like it had some clearance issues. All this does is just act as a stop for the control arm. I don't know if you saw the OEM replacement control arm that I had in before. That had rubber stops. Well, I think they were actually polyurethane, but that had stops that would hit this if, for example, you jack the car up or you pulled the weight off the wheels at all. Again, I'm going to go ahead and just blast this off. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out and then just clean these up and then spray. I powder coated my subframe, but you know, that was 10 years ago. You see I've already rubbed some of it off right over there. And there we go. Went ahead and pulled that off. 1, 2, and 3 welds. That is all that it took. You see the lower stop down there. I think that that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and just grind these down, and I'm going to rattle can them. Not much else that I can do at this point. So I've got that bad boy installed, and you see that tall ball joint there. That's been torqued down to 50 foot-pounds, and then I continued to torque until I lined up that cotter pin. I checked to make sure I got cotter pins in all the right locations, lower ball joint, everything like that. Outer tie rods. Those cross shaft bolts get torqued down to 50 foot-pounds as well. Got those torqued down. These were torqued down. GM calls for 25 foot-pounds. They're 1/4 inch, grade 8, and they are fine thread. So Bolt Depot, which I looked up online, the spec is 10 foot-pounds. So I wasn't sure exactly what to do there. I went ahead and bolted them down to 20 foot-pounds. Didn't seem to hurt anything. So Now it's time to see if that wheel fits. Let's check it out. So I initially went with taller ball joints because that's what SpeedTech recommends, but you can see I've got barely enough clearance, so I swapped them back. And here's how it looks with regular ball joints. I got just enough room. I'm happy with this. So there it is, upper control arms installed. You can see it's pretty tight, but I'm not going to know exactly how tight until I get some fat meats out of the front. But for now, that's going to do on that side. So I'm going to go ahead, take care of the driver's side as well, get this thing back on the ground, lubed up, ready to rock. Catch you next time.